Hi folks, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you will know that my favourite pattern of knife is the Barlow, and I particularly like Sheffield Barlows, and I will buy Barlows by any Sheffield maker. This one is Lee White one, for example, but my favourites are by Lee White. Now, I've had some of these for a while, and I bought a couple of them last year. One of the things which I think is nice is that since I've been collecting these, we've gone from these relatively indistinct stamps to they retooled last year, and we now have these lovely crisp new stamps, which is always nice to see. Not the first time they've done that, but they've been making these knives for a long time, and it's nice to see that they're investing some money in them as they go along. These are made by a guy called Lee White, as I've said to you before. Each one of them comes in a box, a nice box. This is the new box, Witness Sheffield, Eyewitness Sheffield, England Premier Collection. And this one, now this is another one that's just come to me by way of one of my subs. Now, I haven't done a sort of opening of one of these for a while, so I'm going to do this because each one of them comes with this little letter. And it would always occur, well, I'll go through it and tell you what it says. So, craftsmanship's alive. Sheffield is steel. Taylor's Eyewitness is synonymous with the finest quality Sheffield steel. Ever since cutler John Taylor founded the legend in 1838, John's keen eye for the best raw materials and uncompromising standards of craftsmanship have been passed down through the generations. That is the history. Today, Taylor's Eyewitness keeps craftsmanship very much alive. You get an unmistakable feel for this 170 years. 170? Well, it's rather more than that now. When you first hold this pocket knife, reassuringly it will stay with you throughout many years of loyal service. It has been made to give. Made completely by hand, each pocket knife is unique and made by one craftsman from start to finish. It is made like no other. Well, there are others, but these are not machine-made knives in any shape or form. In the 21st century, ours are an unusual attitude to manufacturing that feels fresh, almost, dare we say it, modern. Made in Sheffield entirely by hand, Lee White. Now, I'd always assumed they were made by Lee White, and then somebody said, yeah, but he just signed it, doesn't mean he made it. Well, actually, it turns out he did make them, and he's now a subscriber to this channel. So there's stuff on the back here about caring for your knife and keep me dry, oil my joints, keep me sharp. And now, unlike Arthur Wright knives, these ones did come sharp. They've just moved to new premises, because what they really make a lot of are kitchen knives. All my kitchen knives are made by Taylor's Eyewitness, except an really old Sabatier one that I've had for about 40 years. But all the ones I've bought in the last 40 years, other than that one, have all been Taylor's Eyewitness. I bought a set for my daughter at Christmas as well. They make some really nice, good quality, everyday quality knives. And they also make some really good kitchen knives that are £200 plus per knife. But anyway, so they come with that. They come in this nice little box, nice little bit of padding, and this one is Stag, and not Stag bone this time. This is proper Stag. Now, let's play a game of Nick Shabazz. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the great, the bad, and the ugly. To start with, this is a Stag handled, handmade knife, worked back. It has a 420HC stainless steel blade, as do all of the Taylor's knives. Taylor's Eyewitness, you can see it's relatively new because it's got the new stamp, though I did get the second hand to say off one of my subscribers, David Solomon, who he sent me another knife before actually, which I'd sort of almost forgotten about, and I just remembered about it while I was going through the bag just now. Now, This is a good, traditional, handmade, solid, lovely, beautiful, yeah, all that stuff. And I've said all of that about all these knives before many times. Just wipe that blade, just get some a bit better. Still got a wee streaky mark on it, but hey, I'm going to do what I can do. Right, but now here's the rub. These are handmade knives, handmade from beginning to end by a man sitting at a bench with grinding wheels and stuff like that. And so they're not perfect. They're not like my Enzo PK70s, which are absolutely, you can't see the joins in them. And it would be easy to be critical and, does that Stag quite fit up to the bolster properly? No, not really. Is the back spring absolutely straight and fitting completely? No, not really. Now, I could say that is the bad and or the ugly or whatever. But in actual fact, I like those imperfections. In the world of Japanese swords, which is another interest of mine, faults and imperfections are actually seen as marks of character. And I sort of see them in this. Now, would I like Lee to make my knives absolutely perfectly and without flaw? Yes, I probably would, but I quite like that he doesn't. This one, there's a wee bit of a gap there. And I could easily criticise that between that back spring and the liner. But what these mistakes are reminders that these were handcrafted, lovingly handcrafted by somebody that doesn't turn out hundreds of these a day, hundreds of these an hour. I would hate to think how long it takes to make one. There is a video of a guy called Richard White, and I'm interested to know if that's a relation, on YouTube. It's condensed down to a few minutes, but you can clearly see from the various videos that there are of the Sheffield knife makers that it takes hours, not minutes, to knock one of these out. They're not turned out. They may be turned out in 2 or 3 at a time of a particular style. You see that a lot with Michael May. There's a couple of videos he's done where you can see that he's obviously making 3 or 4 of the same knife with the same bit of wood at one time, but he's making 3 or 4. He's not making 3 or 400 or 3 or 4,000. That means that these are unique. Nowhere will I get another one. I mean, example. Here we have 2 Barlow knives made by the same guy in ram's horn. Now, the ram's horn is ostensibly the same material, but it's different between the two. Those stampings are slightly different. The backs are different. One's worked and one's not worked. But in actual fact, when you put them in your hand, they also feel slightly different. The action on one to the next is slightly different. You could say one's better, one's worse. I wouldn't go that far. What I'm really just saying is these knives are just unique pieces. And because they're unique pieces, I value them more highly. Now, you could look at the shape of this Stag, for example, and you could say, well, hold on a minute. That's nowhere near symmetrical. No, it's not symmetrical, but that's because he's taken the natural figuring of the Stag and said, well, look, there's a really nice bit of shape in there. Should I just grind that off? I mean, he could have taken the back off that Stag and made it thinner so that you wouldn't have, you'd be more symmetrical, but you wouldn't have that figuring in it. I want that figuring. I want to be able to look at that and say, wow, that is a natural material. That's come off a Stag. Now, I'm told this is not Sandbar Stag, but this is British Stag, which comes from Woburn Abbey. Now, I don't know if that's true. Maybe that's just something I was told. But I quite like the idea of that because I used to go to Woburn Abbey when I was a small child because my grandparents lived in Buckinghamshire. and we would go there, and we went into the lion enclosure and got a puncture in the car, and we had to get the keepers or whatever came along in their zebra striped Land Rover, and they had their rifles, and they came and they changed the tyre and got us out of the lion enclosure. And when you were a small boy of, it was 1976, I would guess, I was probably 9 at the time, that was such an exciting day out. And to think that this stag came from the same place, didn't come from the lions, came from the deer, obviously, but I like that. I love deer, I love stag as a material because it's cast off by the stag annually. It's not something that, unlike bone, you don't have to kill the stag to get the antlers. He casts them off, you pick them up, you make them into beautiful, natural materials like that. Now, British stag, unlike the sandbar stag, which is mostly used by most knife makers, particularly people like GEC, the sandbar stag is imported to America from India because sandbar stag has a more consistent, it's denser for one thing, but it also has a more consistent, lighter pattern, and that means that you don't get great chunks of texture as you've got in this particular knife here. You just don't get it. So I actually really love this knife. Now I think David looked at it and thought it was a bit flawed. And he saw the flaws as flaws. I see the flaws as character. I really do. I think if all these knives came out 100% machine perfect, then you might as well get a machine to do it. But I can see when I pick up one of these knives, this one is the same as, but different to this one, which is the same as, but different to this one, which is the same as, but very different to this one, my beautiful mother of pearl one that my lovely wife gave me, which makes it very special. Or, this one, which is horn. I don't know what sort of horn, buffalo horn, I presume. I don't actually know that for a fact. But, these knives are ostensibly the same, but all different. They have different actions. These ones, this one, it's a much lighter action. Don't want to get my fingerprints all over them again. Than, say, I think the heaviest one is this one, the mother of pearl one, which is, I'm trying to fold it and I can't fold it. Yeah, see, that's a really strong spring. I love the way that, do you know something I really like? That's in the half stop position, you see that the spring and the spring and the tang of the knife are smooth, one to the other. And when you fold the knife, I don't do this without cutting my fingers off. It's always better. Again, smooth, one to the other. Now that's unusual, compared to this one. This is a good knife too. I like this. I like Michael May's knives. We don't have that same position in the half stop, and we certainly don't have that position when it's folded. So it's a characteristic that is common to the tailor's Eyewitness Barlows, and it's quite unusual, and I really like it. So I've waited on for way past 10 minutes already about these knives, and all I really wanted to do was to show you that I have picked up a new one in Stag, which I think is just really, really beautiful. So thank you, David, for letting me get this from you. It is beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and I really love it. And I will continue to collect these knives, and if any more of them come up, anybody else wants to send me one, more than welcome, and I'm more than happy to buy them. The only difficulty I have with these knives is getting hold of them. So thank you very much. If you like this stuff, please put a thumbs up. I know this one is a bit drooling and fanboy, but nonetheless, I do just love these knives. I don't know if you got that from the earlier parts of the video, but if you didn't, I do love them. And if you want to see more of this stuff, then please subscribe. I don't know if I've got any more of these. This is probably the last Taylor's Eyewitness that I've got at the moment, but you never know, another batch will come along at some point, and no doubt we'll see some more. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.